And in the governor's race, if Republican Dave Reichert were to become governor, would he ban abortions in the state of Washington? Reichert says absolutely not. However, a campaign ad from Bob Ferguson says that Reichert tried passing a nationwide ban when he was in Congress. Drew Mickelson with our sister station in Seattle looked into those votes and two very different interpretations from the candidates.
Dave Reichert has repeatedly told us he is pro-life, but the Republican says if he were to be elected governor, he would not mess with Washington's abortion laws. But his top Democratic opponent, Bob Ferguson, says Reichert's voting past suggests otherwise.
As a doctor providing reproductive health care, the last thing we need is anti-choice Republican Dave Reichert as our governor. In Congress, Reichert voted for a nationwide abortion ban with criminal penalties for doctors.
The Bob Ferguson campaign is highlighting 3 votes Reichert took while in Congress. None of the bills became law. He voted in favor of federal abortion bills in 2013, 2015, and 2017. Under the proposals, abortions would have been prohibited after 20 weeks, with exceptions when the mother's life was at risk or in cases of rape or incest. The Reichert campaign says the resulting law would have been, quote, substantially similar to existing Washington state law, which says the state may not deny or interfere with a pregnant individual's right to choose to have an abortion prior to the viability of the fetus, generally thought to be around 23 weeks, but a figure ultimately determined by a doctor.
For my patients and all Washingtonians, we can't give Dave Reichert the chance to take away our reproductive freedom.
The Ferguson campaign and Planned Parenthood say those federal laws backed by Reichert would have resulted in a nationwide abortion ban, much more restrictive than existing Washington law.
I want you to know where I stand on abortion. As governor, I will not change Washington law on this issue because I do not believe any politician, regardless of personal belief, has the right to make that decision for any woman.
The Reichert campaign released a response ad blaming Ferguson for trying to spread fear.
This is not a federal ban on abortion that Congress was considering. It is a regulation of abortion, just as Washington regulates abortion.
King 5 political analyst Rob McKenna, a Republican and former Washington Attorney General, has endorsed Reichert and is co-chair of the campaign's fundraising committee. He calls the ad misleading.
Here in the state of Washington, the voters overwhelmingly are very protective of a woman's right to choose.
King 5 political analyst Gary Locke, a former Democratic governor, says Reichert should clarify his past votes.
He has to explain to the voters how his votes in Congress are in fact consistent with and protective of, or not overriding, the laws here in the state of Washington, which are very protective of a woman's right to choose.
King 5 News has determined that both ads need more context from both candidates. If the Ferguson campaign would detail those past pieces of legislation and the existing state law, and if Dave Reichert would explain his motivation behind his votes, the voters may be better informed. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
And we do have reaction from both candidates. Dave Reichert said Bob Ferguson continues to blatantly lie about my voting record in Congress in an attempt to spread fear to the very people he wants to represent. Bob Ferguson said as a congressman, Dave Reichert promised not to undermine Roe v. Wade. He then broke that promise with multiple votes that would have banned abortions that are legal in Washington state.